Yes, you've probably heard that phrase used before, but this time the country is at a moment of genuine crisis. Coronavirus, unemployment, gun violence, a hugely politically divided nation. In this special 7:30 series, you'll hear from people who've served at the very top of US politics and everyday voters about the choice Americans face and the incredibly high stakes.
We have 300 hamburgers, many French fries.
In the name of Jesus, we thank you.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Lord. President Trump has been an embarrassment to this country.
There are those that think I'm a very stable genius.
His conduct, it's a combination of like the American Mussolini meets Dr. Frankenstein.
Joe Biden was always thought of as one of the dumbest men in the Senate and then one of the dumbest men to ever serve as vice president.
I am running for president. I am running. No, I've announced it 27 times.
Joe Biden is a compassionate man who talks too much.
Welcome to Conservative Grounds. My name's Cliff Gephardt.
Hello, how are you?
We support the conservative way of life. When you walk in the door, there's a mural of a Second Amendment with about 35 guns on the wall. This is our Oval Office that we created to welcome the customers into Conservative Grounds. We've probably had about 30,000 photos taken of this and put on social media. We have pictures of Trump's family, his father, his mother, Melania and Barron, that sit behind the Resolute desk. Is this your first time here?
For these Americans, forget that more than 200,000 people have died in the pandemic, forget the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression, and forget Donald Trump's 20,000 odd lies in office, tallied by the Washington Post. Their president can do no wrong.
He's not a politician, he's a businessman, and that's what we need.
I think Trump supporters are loyal to the end. I think it's because they see something in him that they've never seen in another politician, where he's keeping his promises that he made, he's doing what he campaigned on.
What Mr. Trump's got going on in his base is fairly unique to the United States. So his base believes that there is a great culture war going on inside the United States. And white Americans that are older see a nostalgia in that.
I've been talking to people at President Trump's rallies and supporters for 4 years now. And every time I talk to them and I ask them about something that has been in the news or something that he's done or some criticism, they don't believe it. They just really, they either don't believe it or just don't care.
President's National Security Advisor Michael Flynn forced to resign.
FBI Director James.
Many die-hard Trump supporters don't care about the chaos that's been evident from day one of the administration. In fact, they like it because it shows how much Trump is shaking up a system that's not worked for them.
Anthony Scaramucci is now his Attorney General, and he got what he wanted.
Rex Tillerson out as Trump revealing his codes expected to step down.
One of the shortest-serving members of the Trump administration, at just 11 days, is his former communications director, Anthony Scaramucci. Mr. Scaramucci, it's Lee Sales here. Can you hear me?
Oh, my God. Wait a minute. You're the one that karate chopped Sarah in the Adam's apple. Could somebody please pass me my athletic supporter and protection and the helmet? Could you pass the helmet over here, please?
Can the president tell the difference between the truth and a lie?
100%. No, the president absolutely knows when he's lying, and he's often turned to aides and staff members and said, yeah, only believe about half of what I'm saying.
Nothing has better illustrated the compulsive lying and recklessness of Trump than the coronavirus pandemic. It's taken an unbelievable toll on Americans.
My name is Christelle Cadet. I'm a paramedic for the fire department of New York City. Initially, myself and a lot of my other coworkers weren't really threatened by it. We were just like, oh, it's another flu-like virus that's coming around. I was at work. I was at the station, like I was seeing patients themselves, and at some point I contracted the virus, and then I got severely sick pretty quickly. I was in a coma for 30 days. I remember briefly right before they sedated me, I remember the doctors telling me that it's gonna be okay, they're gonna take care of me. And then when I woke up, I was really shocked and surprised. I'm like, what do you mean? It's been a month. What day is it?
While the virus surged through America, the president downplayed its severity and mocked mask wearing.
It's going to disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear. I mean, honestly, what the hell did he spend all that money on the plastic surgery if he's going to cover it up with a mask?
More than 220,000 have died so far. 1,000 Americans are still dying every day. Millions, like Christelle Cadet, have had their lives changed forever.
It was on oxygen 24 hours a day. Now it's always just on standby as needed. I went from completely unable to walk to ambulating with a cane now.
Water?
My bad.
American presidents don't do what Mr. Trump is doing. He's lying about the disease. Mr. Trump lives in his own reality distortion field.
Nothing changed even when Trump himself contracted the virus. He exposed his Secret Service detail unnecessarily, and while pumped full of an experimental cocktail of drugs, proclaimed himself cured in a reality TV-style event.
Don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it.
Do be afraid. It is very dangerous. It's a very dangerous and active virus.
Sam Nunberg worked on Donald Trump's 2016 campaign.
If he had any semblance of trying to win this election, he would have just said, now I understand why some of you were upset with me about this and how you thought that I didn't take this seriously. And I want to apologize to you. No, he made it about himself.
There have been so many examples of appalling behaviour, including in the lead up to the last election, and none of it turned Trump's base against him. What do you think would be different now?
We're never going to get his base. He could proverbially shoot people on Fifth Avenue, but there's a good 10% or so of the people that can be convinced that he's a systemic threat to America. He's a threat to the democracy. And obviously, because of the way he's mishandled the healthcare crisis, he's a threat to their lives.
The number one issue for seniors is COVID. That's a swing group that Republicans and this president won last time in 2016. He's losing them by anywhere from 10 points to 15 points. He's just lost women.
The important question this election is just how many of those Americans who voted for Trump last time have lost faith after 4 years of him.
When you hit the ball down the line, carry the ball on the strings as long as possible. My name is Sean Biancoli. I teach tennis right in the heart of Palm Beach, where the president resides and where the Winter White House is. As soon as I could vote, I was so proud to be a Republican, just like everyone in my family. Turn your shoulders. With the election between Hillary Clinton and Donald J. Trump, I started doing videos in support of Donald Trump. I can't say I was a fanatic, however, actually, no, you know what? Let me roll that back. Yes, I was. We did it. We all did it. Donald J. Trump is our 45th president. White House? The White House is the swamp. Enough of trying to undermine President Trump. I thought, you know what? This is the guy that's going to beat Hillary Clinton. And that's what it's about. I was angry about Benghazi, but you know what? Benghazi, 4 men died. From COVID, over 200,000 Americans have died. So, at this moment right now, I wish to God Hillary Clinton had been elected president.
The lifelong Republican still blogs under the name GOP Girl, but she says the party is no longer her home.
He has been very effective in turning the Republican Party into the Trump Party, where you either follow him or you're not a Republican, and that's not true. I will be voting for the former Vice President, Joe Biden. I honestly fear for this nation under Donald Trump.
Today we're having MAGA in the Bay. It's kind of a one-off boat parade. There's hundreds and hundreds of boats that have already gone by. It's just trying to accomplish to get the word out, to support our president, Donald Trump, to help him get reelected.
Here to show our patriotic support for our awesome president. Over 4 more years, here we come.
For these voters, Trump is still an intoxicating figure. And such is his power over his conservative base that the Republican Party has bowed to his every whim, alienating heavyweights such as George W. Bush's former Deputy Secretary of State, Richard Armitage.
The Republican Party is like the 3 major characters in the Wizard of Oz. You got the straw man who has no brain, you've got the lion who has no courage, and you've got the Tin Man who has no heart. And that perfectly sums up, I think, the present state of the Republican Party.
Former Defence Secretary Chuck Hagel agrees. He was one of the most powerful Republicans in Washington during the Bush and Obama administrations. Chuck Hagel, how has the Republican Party caved so comprehensively to Trump's dominance?
Well, I'm disappointed in that because I'm a Republican. I've been a Republican all my life. I've never seen such a lack of courage. Much of the Republican Party has gone along, has been enablers to President Trump because their focus has been power, power alone.
Trump understands better than anyone how much power he wields over both his party and his diehard supporters, and how he'll choose to use that influence after we learn the election result is anybody's guess.
Don't say that, I'll start to cry, and that wouldn't be good for my image.
Millions and millions of ballots will be in the mail, and we don't know where they're going, to whom, and I just think it's going to be a mess.
I think this country is going to be in pretty bad shape if the so-called Democrats come into power. It'll end up to be a one-party country with something similar to a dictatorship control.
We're in a modern era, it's 2020, and we have an American president that is questioning whether or not he'll allow a peaceful transfer of power, and we're thinking about him potentially inciting violence in America.
I think that people are enthusiastic to make sure that Trump is no longer in office because many people, especially in New York, has been struggling. My name is Momira Ahmed. I am an activist from Jamaica, Queens, New York.
সাকিব একটু দেরি হয়ে যাচ্ছে তো কারণ আমার তো গাড়ি নাই
Today I went out with a few volunteers to distribute some groceries and food to working class community members.
As you know, November 3rd is a really important election. It is the election of our lives. You're voting for Joe Biden? Joe Biden, Democrat? Okay.
Joe Biden, at the end of the day, is a polite old man. How I feel about Joe Biden as a presidential candidate doesn't matter. That's how I feel.
Voter registration করছেন?
Although Biden is a milquetoast centrist Democrat who's not appealing to people like me, we have a duty to our country and our people. That's why I'm gonna enthusiastically vote for him.
America has long been a diverse nation, but in 2020, many people are asking whether it will ever deliver equality and liberty for all. Black Lives Matter, Me Too, climate change, social media activism paint a very contemporary backdrop for the election. So it's bold for the Democrats to pin their hopes on a 77-year-old career politician.
Joe Biden কে ভোট দিবেন তো, তাই না? Joe Biden.
They're hoping the key motivator for voters this year, especially young Americans, will be fear of more Trump.
You got to remember, in 2016, those Democrats that said, hey, I don't want Hillary Clinton, that helped President Trump get elected. And so there's a real push to not do that this time.
Biden's chief rival for the Democratic nomination this time around promised radical change, appealing to the same instincts Trump does in his base, but at the opposite end of the political spectrum.
I have this tattoo of Bernie Sanders over here. My parents weren't a fan. They were like, what are you doing? Because Muslims aren't really allowed to have tattoos, but you know what? My parents are totally cool with this one.
Good evening.
Biden's platform has shifted to the left over the years, including a pledge to reach zero net emissions by 2050. He's also in favour of expanding publicly funded healthcare, but that's not far enough for progressives.
I'm a proud Democrat, and I'll be proud to carry the banner of our party into the general election.
He's trying to appeal to everyone, but he won't go far enough to the left. He won't go all the way to that progressive side, but he's trying to appeal to those people.
Joe Biden was born in an industrial region in Pennsylvania in America's northeast, the eldest of 4 children. When he was 10, his family moved a little further south to Delaware. He's lived there ever since. He first married in 1966 and had 3 children. In 1972, at 29, he was elected to the US Senate. But that triumph was followed by crushing tragedy just weeks later, when his wife and baby daughter were killed in a car crash that also critically injured his 2 sons. He was sworn into the Senate at their bedside. He married his second wife, Jill, in 1977. They're still together. He's long held presidential ambitions, making his first run in 1988.
I've concluded that I will stop being a candidate for President of the United States.
Biden became one of the powerful lions of the Senate, notably expert in foreign affairs. In 2008, he again ran unsuccessfully for president, but was tapped by Barack Obama to be his running mate, with a view to Biden's experience and long-time Washington contacts helping the somewhat green senator from Illinois.
Joe Biden, as I've often said to people, is the most decent, honorable politician I've ever known.
He's an extraordinarily decent person.
He is the perfect person for this moment.
He really is the antidote to Donald Trump.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe! I can't breathe!
One of the pivotal moments in an election year full of them was the police killing of George Floyd.
He's not even resisting arrest right now, bro.
His nose is bleeding.
We deserve justice.
It's put racial inequality front and centre.
Jim Messina interview, take 1.
Jim Messina was President Obama's 2012 campaign manager.
Well, Black Lives Matter is one of the three kind of, major political moments in America in the past year that none of us saw coming. The first, of course, was COVID. The second was the economic recession. And the third was Black Lives Matter. And that has really changed the tone and tenor of this campaign in a way that's been challenging for both campaigns.
We're marching on the DNC because Democrats locally, statewide, and nationally refuse to enact any real change regarding the issue of police violence.
What the hell is wrong with Joe Biden?
For some young progressives, issues like defunding the police are more important than rallying around Biden. And that's worrying for him when it comes both to getting elected and governing if he were to win.
I understand wanting to get Trump out because it would feel like a weight off their shoulders. Like, get this one person out and my life will be better, but that's not the case.
We can't breathe, y'all. Make some noise.
If Joe Biden wins, I do think that there will be a real need to sit down with the party, with the left of the party, the moderates of the party, and come up with a consensus on how to govern. But the first step is to beat Donald Trump.
Patty Solis-Doyle was Joe Biden's chief of staff in the 2008 campaign.
The crux of his support comes from working class people. And that is really why Barack Obama chose him to be his running mate. And Barack Obama had built an incredible coalition of voters back in 2008 of young people, African American, Hispanics, women, but he was missing that white working class voter. And in Joe Biden, he found a way to reach out to them.
Ohio is one of the states that voted Trump in 2016. Democrats are hoping to win it back, and in America's hollowed-out industrial heartland, Biden does hold appeal.
The wall is falling down.
Mexico didn't pay for it. My name is Bob Seward. I'm 62 years old. I'm a retired steel worker, living with my wife, trying to enjoy retirement. Joe Biden stands up for the working people of this country. You know, I can't swear Joe Biden's going to be the savior. But at this point, I know Trump will be the demise of this country. So I'm willing to take a chance.
How you doing, man? So let's get going. Our first subject is the Supreme Court.
And they're going to dominate you, Joe. You know that.
I am the
Shut up, Trump.
And by the way,
spoke to the scientists that are in charge.
By the way,
they will have the vaccine very soon.
He is so full of shit, his eyes are brown.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
who is on your list, Joe? People of Ohio are very proud of me. And
oh, up yours.
Bob and I have actually met before, in 2004 when I was the ABC's Washington correspondent.
Can I directly blame Bush for Timken closing their plants? No, but it's an end result of policies that are in place.
Despite the economic hardship here in Ohio, the state is far from convinced it wants to switch to John Kerry. When I first met Bob, he was worried about the economy, and in the 16 years since, that's not changed.
The average working person, they're not seeing great. I know too many people that work in the steel industry in Canton that ain't seen a paycheck in years because there's nothing. It's just dead.
When I ran President Obama's re-election campaign, he used to say to me, every president is sort of in contrast to the previous one. And President Trump is angry and someone who really wants to take on the world.
Not you.
And Joe Biden's kind of the opposite of that. He's a lunch pail, blue-collar guy.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
And the country kind of wants that right now after 4 years of a lot of fighting.
In 2016, the Clinton campaign seemed to think, like a lot of people, how could the American public possibly elect Donald Trump? Is there a risk this time that the Democrat campaign is built on the idea of how could America possibly re-elect Donald Trump? Are they making the same mistake twice?
Well, I sure as hell hope not. I see no one sort of resting on their laurels.
Donald Trump is running a campaign against himself and for Joe Biden. Donald Trump has become Joe Biden's best surrogate. If Donald Trump ends up winning re-election, it will be the most remarkable comeback in modern-day American political history.
In March, with the lockdown and COVID-19, gun sales went through the roof, so to speak. But when the riots started occurring, people got nervous and started going to the gun stores to actually stocking up because of the climate in the United States had them nervous. We have our handgun section, and on this wall we have our tactical guns. Where normally we had 1,000 guns in the store, we probably have 200 now. It has really affected our inventory. It's hard to find guns.
So your balance $100. Thank you.
I'm Don Langford, and you're at Southern Survival Tactical in Opelika, Alabama. Our store is a tactical gun store and training center. Our customer base has always been diverse, but once the riots started, we actually had a lot more liberal customers coming in. These are people that have never touched a gun in their life, but they all had one thing in common. They were nervous about civil unrest. I eyeball the back sight, front sight, and the target, and I will hit my target. These are normal Americans that hardworking, they want to protect their way of life, they want to protect their family, and the election, no matter which way it goes, people are expecting that there's going to be more civil unrest. So it is not going to end soon.
America is fighting so many crises simultaneously. There's unrest on a scale not seen for decades.
We've never experienced what we're going through now. We've got a global health pandemic that has resulted in an economic recession, distress. We've got social unrest, racial unrest, other issues and problems right in the middle of a presidential election.
I didn't think 2020 in the United States would be this racially charged, where the American president would be giving license for hatred to white supremacists.
The politically engaged sometimes exaggerate how they'll feel if the other side wins. But this time, it's genuine fear, and it's from people within Trump's own party too.
I'm Miss Sales. This is Rich Armitage. Good evening.
Richard Armitage served in George W. Bush's administration as Deputy Secretary of State.
Am I nervous? Yes, I am. 3 of my children are African American, and 5 of my grandchildren are African American. And since the Trump administration has been in, racism, which has been a big thorn in America's side since probably 1619, has become not implicit any longer, but explicit. And I hear this from my grown children. And I am nervous that if Mr. Trump wins, then this explicit racism will continue for somewhat longer.
Nobody knows how these people are voting, and after 2016 there's scepticism about the accuracy of opinion polls. But almost all of them show the president is on track to lose. The question is how Trump and his supporters would react to that. It could have serious implications for national security, and few people are more expert on that than Republican Michael Chertoff, America's former Secretary of Homeland Security in the Bush administration.
Why? If you do not disperse immediately, you will be arrested.
Well, I mean, we have seen an uptick in extremist domestic violence, particularly of the extreme right-wing variety. And certainly one thing that Donald Trump has done is he has signaled, without much subtlety, his desire to encourage those people, to use his own words, to, quote, stand by.
Proud Boys, stand back and stand by.
So I am concerned that we could have an uptick of violence. People who claim the election was stolen if Trump loses or appears to be losing.
In this Latino neighbourhood in Houston, there's a potentially powerful bloc of voters, but attempts are underway to clip their turnout.
Since the turn of the century, the Republicans have faced a real electoral dilemma. The country is becoming more multiracial and they have been becoming more white. And what they've tried to do as a result of that is maximise their own base and suppress the turnout of minorities who generally support for the Democrats.
The reason you see our community being dehumanized and targeted is because we're the biggest threat to the status quo. My name is Antonio Arellano, and I am the interim executive director of JOLT. JOLT is the largest Latino civic engagement organization in the state of Texas.
So most of the team is going to be in these neighborhoods that's right here. We're going to walk with a team of 3 that we have.
Today, JOLT is on the ground across the state, canvassing door to door in Latino majority neighborhoods.
We're seeing Republican governors making it very difficult for minority voters to cast their ballot.
So we just need 12 more.
Ready?
Okay, cool.
Over the past couple of years, since 2013, the country has seen over 1,000 polling locations closed, and 750 of those locations were right here in Texas. We want to make sure that Latinos recognize that it's systemic and strategic to try to dilute their power.
In every election, the outcome is determined by which side can get enough people to show up to vote. This year, there's a curveball. The pandemic means millions of Americans are posting their ballots.
I think the Democrats are really pushing early voting in any fashion. They don't want just to win, but they want to win big because they are afraid that Donald Trump is going to be, the election will be close, and that he will tie all this up in the courts, that he won't, as he said before, that he won't accept the election results.
We got politicians out here getting paid to do nothing.
That's right. Everything is on the line this election cycle. The stakes could not be higher for the Latino constituency. When you come after immigrants, you're attacking our families. And that's one thing that Latinos cherish the most. When you come after our families, we will come and vote you out of office.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get a lunch, please. All right, I'll take this right here, yep.
So this side over here is the women's area. And all we have is a cot in the middle of the room. My name's Bob McElroy. I'm president of the Alpha Project. This is the men's area over here. The reason why we're at the convention center, we've been here almost a year. As this pandemic started to spread, health officials knew that we had to have more social distancing. We had 6 feet apart. We had no place else in San Diego to do it than other here at the convention center. At one time, we had about 1,300 homeless people on the convention center grounds. Big screen TVs. that's big screen. Out here is all the showers.
This homeless shelter in San Diego is considered a national success story, but it also shows the fragility of the American dream.
I mean, I don't want to be a bummer on America. We're the greatest country in the world, so to you guys, but that's just the way it is. But take my folks. My kids can't afford to buy a house, so it's a vicious, endless cycle in every city, every major city in the United States right now.
Donald Trump was not a historical accident. He was almost historically inescapable. When Donald Trump said the American dream is dead, so many people believed him. They just didn't think their kids would lead more abundant lives than they did.
America's economy has taken a battering recently, but the truth is inequality has been worsening for decades. The difference between rich and poor has never been greater, and the pandemic's accelerating a trend that's causing the middle class to thin out.
I mean, we don't have them, but we have the rich and the poor nowadays, and the middle class that pays all the taxes. We're crushing our middle class.
I'll admit this to you and your viewers. I'm one of those responsible for it. For years, my colleagues and I, we worked hard. We worked hard on alliances. We worked hard on free trade agreements. We worked hard on all of these different negotiations. And there were always winners and losers. We never really accurately considered that 30, sometimes 35% of our population was not winning.
Trust in government is in long-term decline too. Just 17% of Americans say they now trust the government to do the right thing.
You can watch any campaign season, and all these promises are always made, but nothing ever changed, and it usually gets worse.
This incident has made the American public... The only job in my career that I've ever desperately wanted was to be the ABC's Washington correspondent, and that's because I love America, its history, its culture, its people. I love it so much.
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike, it really is.
The best of America is truly exceptional, but the worst of it is heartbreaking, and that's been magnified in recent years. So many people who love America are hoping for the best at the moment, but bracing for the worst.
I'm not optimistic. I mean, our politics in this country have become so partisan. You know, I say my prayers every day that good Lord pulls us up out of this.
USA! USA! What is happening now is it's got the whole pulse of the country very upset. I hope to God that it ends soon. We get back to some kind of normalcy.
I have never felt more stress under the presidency of anyone in my entire life.
Walk away in a cocktail, don't walk away.
There's much disaffection in this country. People are not happy, and people are upset.
It really is quite bitter right now. There's so many people in this country that are so angry.
My fear in advance of this election, regardless of who wins or loses, I just do not see how this country comes together.
When America votes, ABC will be there.
You're gonna get a kick out of it.
Will it be Trump, Biden, or chaos?
Who the heck does he think he is?
All-day coverage Wednesday from 6 on ABC News.